street. I didn't figure they could catch me, but I was afraid they might. Then I got rid of all of them.
So
I succumbed.
there's a story about Mom's Christmas stocking.
Mom's Christmas.
And when she was not a good girl.
Oh,
Tell about
well, that was way back when I was a girl. My daddy liked to tease a lot at Christmas time. And so if he'd have little gifts down in the bottom, but there was sometimes a lump of coal on the top. Or when Colleen would ask for too much, my sister, he would cut a hole in the bottom and have the pan below filled with coal. So anyway, it just was my tradition at home with my father. It was a lot of fun at Christmas.
Mother, would you tell everybody the story about the black sheep?
Oh,
Grandpa,
The
black
black
the
sheep.
drovers.
Oh, my father, when he wasn't working in the, when the slow time in the auto body shops would come, he would shear sheep. And we would go meet him when he had started out in the southern part of the country, down in Utah, in the southern Utah. Then he'd shear sheep with this group, and they'd go up and into Montana. So about the time he hit Montana, we were out of school. And so Mother would drive us to Yellowstone Park to meet Daddy. Anyway, when we'd go to the camp sometimes to be with him a while, and so I'd go out with the people, or the men, who were drovers, and they would send the sheep into the different stalls for the men to shear. And one day, one of them happened to say, I think,
Tell them what you were paid for.
what was the mark? How did they mark? Oh, and so Daddy gave me 10 cents for scrubbing the tallow off from his steering pants. You'd have to take him to the cold creek, and with this kai brush, you'd scrub them, and that would roll the tallow off from their trousers. Then Mother would boil them, and that would clean them up. So I got 10 cents for every black sheep that came into Daddy's pen. And that's a lot of money for me. So one day I happened to be talking to one of the drovers, and he said, or I said, I get 10 cents every time a black sheep gets in my daddy's pen. And guess what? I earned $1 in one day. And Daddy came home and he said, hey, what's going on here? And I said, what do you mean, Daddy? He says, they sheared 10 black sheep today. And I said, oh, really? Well, I don't. Anyway, I think he told me, don't bother. I didn't make that much money after that. How are the sheep marked? How many per the
Well, they number their sheep. For every so many sheep, you have a black one. So you don't have to count all the sheep, you just count the black ones and you know how many sheep you have. I don't know what the figure was.
Anyway, I made a lot of money that day.
Other stories you guys want to have retold? I have a question. Okay, so for those of us who are married and those who will eventually be married, what is one of the best things about your marriage that you would tell us to work for?
I think.
My dad said, marry a patient girl and you'll be all right.
I think that the thing that has to be done in a family is to value the marriage that you have, and to constantly compliment and love one another no matter what. Sometimes, and I have been one of them, because every time I planned something, Grandpa would fly away. He'd be on some committee and he did a lot of flying. And so it seemed like every time I planned to take the children or to do something, he was gone, so we couldn't go, because Daddy was the only one in the funeral home. But that I once told my mother I was just awfully tired of that. And she said, well, honey, you go home and you write all about it on a piece of paper. And you put it in your drawer. And then you go to bed and say your prayers and think about it and sleep on it. And then if you feel the same way in the morning, you give him the letter. You know, I've written a few and I've never given them to him. So I think you need to give yourself time to think, but to love one another, to live the gospel, to value the temple ceremonies that you've had, and to just know that that's the most important thing in the world, that you hold your family together. And
What personality trait is your favorite of each other? Favorite personality trait of Mom's and Mom?
I do marriages in the temple. And these young girls call me and they say, Brother Eckersell, yes, will you marry me? And I have the best job there. So then these young ladies, and some of you have been some of them, come, and they're just gorgeous, almost take your breath away. And then the guy comes in that they're going to marry. And I look at him and I say, how did he catch her? Then I look into his eyes, and she looks into their eyes, and she can see something. She thinks that there's something there she can make something out of. And then you work on us from then on. Okay? And so you learn to get along because you know that she's right. And so if you kind of ride with it, it's really fun. You've heard me say it's fun to be married to somebody you like. And I've been very fortunate. I married somebody I like. You're supposed to love your children. It's nice if you like them.
well, the thing I saw in Bruce was a very kind, thoughtful person. I could see that he was very spiritual. He lived the standards of the church, the things that I believed in, very carefully, and he was just a good all-around man, and I have just loved him for a lot of years.
I had just graduated from mortuary school, and I was exhausted spiritually, temporally, physically, and I was a mess, and she knew that I needed help. So I was something that she could work with, and we knew we'd be all right, didn't we? Okay. After you pray about it, you get your answer, and you say, okay, then you're all right.
Okay, these are going to be easy. Dad, what's the least favorite food Mom makes for you?
A smart man won't respond.
Okay, what's coming up? Least favorite trait he's ever made.
Now, here we've been married for 65 years. Finally, the other day, I said, honey, I really don't like green beans with bacon in them. Did you ever have beans with bacon in our house?
I make beans with bacon in it.
Anyway, my grandmother always made stewed tomatoes with soggy soda crackers on it. That was probably my almost least favorite, but I remember as a little child, my dad, sit there till you eat your spinach. And if I had, I'd been this age and I'd still be sitting there. I like fresh spinach, but I don't like, I can't eat things that are stringy. Well, anyway, that's enough.
Least favorite milkshake he's ever made for you.
Oh, he's made some doozies. He likes to combine the weirdest things.